One student was reading from a Supreme Court decision, and the word Negro was part of what they read out. And another student held up his hand and said to the student who was reading, "Hey, you should be careful because, I find the word Negro offensive."
This is insane.
Let's imagine that you're applying for a job. You want to be an assistant professor. Or let's suppose that you're seeking a promotion. On many university campuses, you are asked to give a DEI statement in which you say, I plan to, one of the reasons why you should hire me, or one of the reasons why you should promote me, is because I'm going to, advance the DEI ambitions.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, for people who don't know. This is the general set of programs that most universities now have.
Yes, that's right. So, you've got to sort of, basically what you're being asked to do, whether they say it explicitly or not. They don't say this explicitly, but this is what this is what is up. What you're being asked to do is to say, I'm down with the diversity, equity, and inclusion ethos, program, policy, campaign. And here's what I've done that shows that I'm down with this program, and therefore I'm okay. Well, a lot of what I do would fit very comfortably within that. But let's suppose that I didn't like this. And by the way, there's certain aspects of the DEI, industry that I don't like. You mean to tell me that, I'm being judged at an academic institution? Let's suppose I want to be a chemist. Let's suppose I want to be a physicist. Let's suppose I want to be, I don't care, a critic of literature. I oppose this program. I don't, I don't think this is the way in which higher education should be going. Should I have to, on pain of relinquishing my ability to be hired, should I have to sign on to this?
And the answer that the public wants you to believe is yes. And it's unfortunate because when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, majority of people don't have a problem with diversity. And majority of people, I think like 99% of people don't have a problem with inclusion or diversity. It's when you factor in equity. When you try to factor in equity into a meritocracy, that's when there's a problem. Because I just did a video on Mark Cuban, and he was talking about how he would sometimes pick people who have better social skills or soft skills than people he knows has better technical skills. That's what he considered equity. That's what the problem. That's actually what he considered diversity, but it makes more sense for equity. That's the problem. A lot of people don't agree with that. A lot of people think that's wrong. If you learn something, or if you put in the sweat equity, you put in the work, you should have a higher chance of getting the results. But what's happening is people are putting in the work. Then the way DEI programs are being run is that their work is being overlooked. You shouldn't have to buy into a system to not lose opportunities, especially a system such as this. Not saying you shouldn't believe in DEI. You can believe in whatever you want. It's America. However, you should have the freedom of choice. Whether or not you support it or don't support it, that shouldn't affect your opportunities on getting a job or landing a role or getting fired. It shouldn't matter, because this is just more of a personal belief system.
Just suppose, and let's change it around. Let's not make it a DEI campaign. Let's make it a Make America Great Again campaign. What would we think then? Let's suppose it was something that said, instead of it saying DEI, let's make it say the advancement of American capitalism as we know it. We want you to be down with that. What have you done that shows us that you believe in the advancement of capitalism in America? Would I be happy about? No, I would say this is no. Well, no, with respect to these, as far as I'm concerned, with the DEI statements. Oh, here's another one. I just learned, and in fact, I mean, there's certain things that are happening, and I must say, I mean, I'm in academia, but it's news to me. I didn't know until relatively recently about positionality statements. So these are statements in which somebody writes an article. Let's suppose I write an article, and it's not enough for me just to submit my article to some law review or to some other sort of journal. No, in addition to me submitting my article, I've got to give a positionality statement in which I say whether I am, gay or straight or what have you, in which I say my race, in which I say my nationality, in which I say my stance toward this ideological position or that ideological position.
It seems like they're trying to quantify or qualify people based off of factors that they can't control, or they're trying to qualify people based off of factors that are irrelevant to specific jobs, such as your ideologies or your skin color or your race. And that's what the problem is. How did we even get into this state where companies just bored and say, okay, let's just look at these topics now? It's just a very foolish topic. It's a very foolish thing to me. And that's kind of what he's saying. Why do you have to know my entire background? That's not like purely regarding the work to see if I'm a good fit for this job. Why? Why does that matter? And the same thing for colleges. Why are you looking at my entire humanhood to see if I'm a good fit? You want to know my name, my race, what type of hairstyle I got, my favorite style or for clothes. It's just strange. It's very strange.
Interesting.
What?
Is this becoming a kind of a standard?
I don't know how widespread it is. I know there was a very good article in the New York Times a couple of days ago about these positionality statements. And in fact, that's what sort of tipped me off. Somebody had told me there's a law review at my home institution. And I had a friend who sort of mentioned this offhandedly and who said, well, I submitted an article to this journal and I was a little bit taken aback insofar as they did have me fill out a questionnaire in which I was required to state my race, state this, state that, state the other. And, as far as I'm concerned, well, what does that have to do with a proper assessment of somebody's work? This concerns me. I'm concerned about the fact, a little while ago you mentioned the word Negro. I was talking with colleagues a couple months ago, and somebody mentioned that this word had come up in their class because what had happened was one student was reading from a Supreme Court decision, and the word Negro was part of what they read out, and another student held up his hand and said to the student who was reading, hey, you should be careful because, I find the word Negro offensive.
He was reading in class. This is insane, man. This is insane. I just think in today's climate, social climate, I guess, we're looking for things to be upset about. I genuinely believe that. And the reason I say that is because these type of social queries weren't linear. We had a big civil rights movement. It was linear for a point. Because there was a time where people were discriminated against based off of their race and sex in America. it got to a point where there wasn't really anything to fight over. And people were just calm. They were steady. It's been like that from what, 2000, the 90s maybe to 2015 or something. Then after that, it just got crazy. We started fighting for social cause after social cause, and now the political climate is very sensitive. Like it's very it's very sensitive a little bit. And that's kind of showing in this class that he's talking about. Where you can't even read a word. It's a little interesting to me because I kind of grew up in it, so it's a little weird to see.
And you need to be careful about even saying a word that would be offensive to someone. And this person, and then the teacher was, what should I say in those circumstances? What should I have said? And I volunteered, and I said, well, gosh, that's really interesting because see, if that had come up in my class, I would have said, well, frankly, I don't see what I don't even see what the big deal is because I use the word Negro, and Harvard University is not on some island that is, apart from everything else that's happening in the world. If these things are happening in other places, if they're happening at Stanford, if they're happening at Yale, if they're happening at Columbia, they're going to happen at Harvard. But thus far, and I am most especially experienced in life at Harvard Law School. Harvard Law School is an open environment in which ideas are tested, and they are tested fully. And it's because of that I say I have been fully supported at Harvard Law School, feel that it is an excellent place in which to do work.
It seems like he's a strong advocate of free speech. That's where he's getting at. He's a very strong advocate of free speech, and he wants people to speak their mind with no fear. As long as you're not like insulting anyone, I don't even have to say it. Insulting anyone, being a bigot, you should be allowed to speak your mind and believe what you believe without it detrimentally impacting your job outlooks or your future livelihood. I think that's a fair thing to support. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. And let me know if you have any experience with this. It's LFR Jojo, and I'll see you guys later.